Welcome to a new section, and in this section, we are going to understand how to set up a CentOS 8 Linux server on Google Cloud. I'm assuming that you have already watched the video on setting up the Google Cloud account already, right? So let's move on now. The first step that we are going to do right now is to create a CentOS instance. And I'm going to use the version 8. I'm going to create the instance now. So I have clicked on create instance and I have to give an instance name. It has the instance name always has to be always in the lowercase, and that is the requirement from this platform. I have to select the region and the zone. So I'm not going to change this at the moment. I'm going to leave it uh, with the default. However, if you want to change the region, you can change the region. Or let's put it in Northern Virginia. All right. And I have the zones here. And let me put it in US East 4A. All right. And I have the option to choose my version of CPU. However, for the purpose of this particular session, we are not going to change that. I will leave the machine type at 2 vCPU and 4 GB memory. However, if you want to modify the number of vCPUs and memory, you can go to machine type, and under the machine type, you have the custom option here where you can go and edit it. So if I want to change it to 4 vCPU and 8 GB memory, I can do that. All right. However, I'm not going to change that. I will go with the, all right, let's do it with the custom one. I'll go with 2 vCPU and 8 GB memory. All right. You have the option for the CPU platform, which is automatic here, and I can add GPUs, but for this method it is telling me the GPU options are not available. Next, I'm going to select my boot disk. So this is the most important part. Please watch it carefully. So clicking on change, this pop-up opens for me, and from here I'm going to change my operating system from Debian to CentOS. So if you just look here, and if you can scroll down, you can see that there are many variants of operating system: Windows, Ubuntu, Debian. However, we are going to work on CentOS. So I'll go for the CentOS operating system, and I'll go with the CentOS 8 version. And for the boot disk type, I'm going to change it to SSD persistent disk because I want the uh, best response times for my IOPS. All right, and let me give it a select here. Next one, I'm going to allow full access to all cloud APIs just for the benefit of the beginners. Yeah, but once we are going deeper, we should be doing more granular level security and access control to the machines. All right. The next part. So this is where we are going to control the connectivity to the machine. All right. So we have to create the SSH keys. So in another video, we have already seen what is SSH and what are the SSH keys and how to what is the importance of SSH keys and all that. However, here we are going to see how to generate a public SSH key and a private SSH key from the very beginning. All right. So first, please go to putty.org. All right, which will bring you here. So the first one is download Putty. Click here, and here you will have many options. The first one, so my machine is a 64-bit x86 machine. So how can I find that? You can go to your machine and click on this PC and properties, and the properties of my machine should show me that my machine is a uh, my processor, my RAM, and it is a 64-bit operating system, x64 based processor. All right, so that's where you're going to be checking it out now. So I want to install the MSI because I want the putty to be installed onto the machine completely. All right, so let me go ahead and download this MSI file, and it should be quickly downloading for me. So that's a very small file, about 2.9 MB in size. Please allow a few seconds there for the download to get completed. So this is a complete package of both Putty and Putty Gel. Remember, let me type it once again and show it for you. That's Putty and Putty Gen. So these are the two packages that we need for connecting to the servers, which is and Putty is a terminal emulator. Please remember that it's a terminal emulator. All right. Yes. Let's wait for the download to complete. Or if you want to download individually, I can download the putty.exe separately here and the puttygen from here. I can do it separately or I can do it together. All right, this package, the MSI package, let me deploy it now. Let me install it onto my machine. All right, so the moment I click on it, this is the page. Next, I'm going to install it into the programs directory. It's based upon the system resources available on your machine. It takes a while, usually not more than a couple of minutes for this package to get installed on your machine. All right, so it's installed now. So when I go and check it out with Putty, I should see Putty and PuttyGen. All right, so I have two packages automatically installed. So the first step to fixing this is I have to open the PuttyGen. All right, so open the PuttyGen first. So the Putty keygen is now open, and the first step is you click on your generate here, and once you click on your generate, it starts generating, and move your mouse over this empty space. The faster you move, the faster the key gets generated. All right, so you have the key here, and in the key comment, change it to vroot1. vroot1 is, I'm assuming, the username as vroot1 for logging onto the machine. All right, so that's what I'm setting it up here. The key passphrase is the password which you want to set for logging onto the machine. You can set any string according to your own wish. All right, now the next step is save the public key. All right, so the public key, I'll save it here. I'll call it GCP pub key. I'm saving it onto the desktop. All right, and also save the private key now. The private key, again, call it GCP priv key. But remember, the priv key here is a PPK file. All right, so I have to save it here. Now the next step is copy all the contents which is available here. Close this, go to add item and enter the public key here. All right, now, so I have let me review it once again. The instance name is Linux instance 1. The region is I've set it to Northern Virginia. The zone is US East 4A. The machine configuration, I've set it to 2 vCPU and 8 GB. All right, I've changed the disk to CentOS 8, and I have set SSD persistent disk, and I've given full access to all cloud APIs. I have set the SSH keys. Let me go ahead and create it now. This usually takes a few minutes. Normally should take not more than 3 to 5 minutes for the instance to be uh, up and running. Let's just give it a few minutes there. This is the actual timing that you're seeing. I'm not stopping the video. I want you to understand that it takes a while. uh, it is not like, you execute the command and your instance is instantaneously up. It takes a while there, so I want you to see the actual amount of time it is taking for the Linux instance to get created. All right, So now my instance is up. You can see the status is the instance is up and running. All right. And we have to be more focused towards the external IP. So this machine has a ephemeral IP, meaning this IP, the moment you stop the machine, and if you're going to be restarting the machine, or if you're going to be stopping the machine and you're going to be starting it later, you may not get the same IP address. Why? Because this IP is ephemeral, which means that Google, the Google Cloud will randomly assign the IP address. Of course, we have the static IPs which we can purchase, uh, which are called as premier static IPs, or premier uh, resources. But we're not going to be doing that, and we're going to be doing the using the ephemeral IPs for this session. All right. So let me copy this. The next step is to open Putty. All right, type Putty from your Windows, and you should be seeing the Putty here. Let me open it. And here I have to specify the host name. So host name or the IP address. So I have already got the IP address from the dashboard. So I'm taking the IP address here, and I just want to change a bit of the settings on the appearance, because uh, we want to have a clear view on the information. So I'm going to be setting the font at size 16. All right. The next important one is the connection, the SSH, and the auth. So you have to click on the auth and click on allow agent forwarding. The next option is go and click on browse. Now you remember the public key which we had already created, right? So we have to search for the GCP pub key. All right. So let me put the GCP pub key here. Sorry, we have to put in the GCP private key here. All right. So the GCP private key. All right. Remember, sorry about that. It's the private key which needs to come in there. So there we added the moment we were creating the instance, we put in the public address, and here when we are going to connect, we have to use the private key. All right. So the GCP private key is the one which I created, and yes, now I'm going to click on open. So this is usually the first time you're connecting to the machine, you get this pop-up, and your uh, consecutive connections is not going to be asking this. So this is for the first time, and click on accept. Now login as, I use the vroot1, if you remember that from the Putty Gen when I was creating there. All right, so I'm going to be using vroot1 as the login ID. All right, it's now asking me for the password. Use the same password which we used while creating the public key and private key. And now I'm logged on to the machine. All right, so we have a CentOS Linux version 8 here, which is running. And from here, if I want to become a super user or a root user, so I have to use the command sudo space -yes, and this will make me the root user, and I can check the ID. So when I run the ID, my UID is 0, which is my root, and my GID is also the root. All right, let me exit again from here, and let me run the ID again. The ID shows me as the vroot1. All right. Okay, so I hope this particular session and demonstration is helpful to you in managing the access or creating a Linux instance on the Google Cloud. Thank you very much.